Happy Wednesday, everyone. How are you doing on this amazing hump day? We are on the other side of the week. Can you get excited about that? And I want to just thank you for being here this evening on Get to Know Bob, where we're going to have another amazing conversation with another Bob. And this platform gives us that opportunity to speak with some founders of some nonprofits, business owners, authors, musicians, just anyone in our community doing the dang on thing, right? And I am your host, Sonia M. Weaver. I am just honored that you're here. So if you're watching us live or if you're watching the replay, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you share it with others so they get an opportunity to engage and connect with some amazing Bobs. It is because of your subscriptions, because of your engagement, that we have a further reach. And, I'm excited. We have a couple of out of the US connections. Yes. And, your girl, I just love the momentum of a dedicated few. Yeah, we can go and get big and have all these numbers, and that'd be great. But ultimately, we have to connect and support one another so that we could collectively unite our buying power and start doing some great things within our communities, especially those restorations and the support. So, typically things like that happen with the dedicated few. And so if I got some dedicated few here that are tuning in and sharing and making it happen, then that's all I desire. Y'all know me. So I can't wait for this conversation. It is going to be awesome. So let's get right into tonight's show. Let me tell you some of the things that happened. And of course, I missed you guys last week. I wasn't here. I'm excited. I'm talking a little bit better, but I still have some swelling. Had my remaining 3 wisdom teeth pulled all at once a couple of weeks ago, and the swelling was horrific. Low key, my surgeon, when I did my follow up, kind of told me I was old. He didn't say those words, but he said, and you are a little mature, because I was wondering why I was still so swollen and couldn't really open my mouth. You are a little mature. Isn't that code name for old? And so it's going to take you a little longer to heal. But hey, healing does happen if you're patient, and I am being patient. I'm just excited I'm able to have the show tonight and can actually talk and sound a little bit more like me. What has happened? So I got like 2 weeks of stuff to let you know. In between, we did have a Halloween, right? So I got invited from Tranquility Christian Counseling to attend a holiday event that was with the Eastern Stars. And, Tranquility Christian Counseling happens to be my mother, the beautiful therapist, Miss Barbara Biggs. So we had some of our family photos that we took, and I was a flapper, for those of you don't know. Yeah, I was shimmying my little dress. And yes, we had an amazing, amazing time. I also had an opportunity to have breakfast with the phenomenal Dr. Sabrina Jackson. Yes, you might see her every Monday here on Fox 2 News, where she gives us that mindful Monday, that mental well-being. And you guys know how I feel about mental well-being. Mental health is so important. And I just say mental health just to help people, but it's really health. If your mind is messed up, it's going to twinkle down to your entire body. So it's really health. But we just want to categorize it so if you've been neglecting your brain and what's going on, do what you need to do. Get your mental health together. We had breakfast or brunch, whatever you want to call it, at Maribel's. This is a great spot. They've only been open for a few weeks. They had a previous location. Unfortunately, there was a fire, but their new location is in the Eastern Market area, so right across from the fire department. So if you are in the Detroit metropolitan area, go and support them. Now, here's the thing. They are getting and going through the growing pains, just recently opened. Okay. So, sometimes you got growing pains during that time. So if you do visit based on my recommendation, make sure you have some grace with you. Take and pack your patience just in case. But the environment was phenomenal. The food was fantastic. And the company that I had was great. So I would encourage you to support this Bob. Then I attended the Permission to Live and Laugh. This is the third series in Dr. Portia Lockett's Permission series. It started off with Permission to Grieve, then Permission to Heal, and now we're Permission to Live and Laugh. Had our comedians, Mr. Mike Larry and Coco, they just did a phenomenal job. And of course, there was a phenomenal panel of mental awareness coaches as well as doctors that were in the house to let you know the importance of going through that grieving process, whether it be a loved one or whether it be a job, whether it just be transition in life and you're grieving who you used to be 20 years ago. You have the permission to do so. And I had the additional honor at this event of representing Tranquility Christian Counseling as well as Linked. And in the far upper right, you can see our table was divided very beautifully. And we supported, as you can see, Dr. Portia Lockett. She was phenomenally beautiful at the event. But we focused here on Link. We focused on what is called our remembrance event. So a linked remembrance event will allow you to share time with your family and friends, celebrating the life of a loved one. This is huge. We don't celebrate life when we get into our grief, our mourning, but we need to. Our loved ones live on through our memories and sharing their stories. One thing I was saying at the event is that my children have more of a connection, it seems, with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who's been deceased for a while. They haven't known him in their lifetime, but they know of him. Yet they don't know my great-great-grandmother or my great-grandmother for that matter, right? Because we don't share the stories. We don't talk about them, and we need to. So what Link does is create that environment where you can have the stories to share about your loved one. And when you do, you are introducing them to new people. This type of event is a form of grief therapy and offers an opportunity for healing and moving through the grief process. Bead and bond in honor of a loved one. Many people really love that idea. People are going through grief and you go through it your own different ways. So it's very important, though, that you do so. Now, what are we giving away on today's show? Can you get excited? We are giving away Miss Crystal Gunn's book, Financially Flawless Questions. So either you will get the couples edition or you will get the single moms edition, depending on who you are as the winner. So how do you actually win this book? I'm glad you asked. 3 easy steps. You're going to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you already are a subscriber, then you have completed step 1. You're going to like and follow us on social media. Again, if you've already done that, then you've completed step 2. Here's what everyone needs to do this week. You need to share and tag. That means share 5 of our previous Get to Know Bob episodes on your social media. Tag us. Tag Deals with Bob. And when you do, if you are the first person to complete these steps by emailing us at info@dealswithbob, you will receive your free copy. So don't delay. Get that free copy. You will definitely want to make sure you are financially prepared as we close out 2023. Get the tools, the resources, the information now so that when 2024 comes, you already are in the habit of doing those good things to have a good 2024. Because you already know you're going to make some resolutions and they always are financially related. So let's make sure you are not just making another resolution, but you are making a lifestyle change with tangible results. Now, the conversation is about to happen. And before we get into our tonight's conversation, I want to make sure that you, if you haven't done so, you go over and you watch our October 25th conversation, which is the last conversation we had. And we talked with Dr. Thembe Aquil. And what we discussed was sensible living, which is related to financial education and empowerment. So again, it's going to prepare you for the tools and resources you need in order to get ready right now so that you can have that 2024 that you are desiring. Tonight, we're going to be speaking with the phenomenal Mr. Marvin Cotton Jr., who is the author of Better Not Broken, amongst other things. Welcome, Marvin. How are you doing on this phenomenal Wednesday evening? I can't. And he's not on mute now. Hello. Oh, we have. I can you hear me? I'm gonna let you guys know we were fine before and backstage, so hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties. I wonder. Let me. It's a connection issue because he's timing out. He's buffering out. It's a connection issue. We will get him back soon, I'm sure. So as we're working on, I'm gonna put him in the studio and put him backstage. So as we're working on getting Mr. Marvin Cotton reconnected, we're going to then go into our first segment of our featured nonprofit, as well as our featured businesses and our upcoming events in our Detroit metro area. Take a moment. Pregnancy Resource Center is not your ordinary pregnancy center. With virtual classes, resources, and counseling, they aim to equip expectant moms and dads over 18 with the tools needed to steer through life's snags. The services that are offered are webinars and workshops, counseling and therapy, small group support, and counsel of dads, and all services are free. Divine Diva Designs creates custom shirts, mugs, totes, car decals, and more.
Okay,
And they are
I'm
offering
back.
our
I'm
consumer
good.
members
Okay.
I can hear.
15% off.
Affordable Veterinary Clinic is dedicated to providing optimal veterinary care and personalized attention for you and your pet. Affordable Veterinary Clinic wants to remind you that it's time for vaccines, heartworm medication, and flea and tick prevention. They are offering our consumer members free well exams with the purchase of vaccines for new clients.
United Community Solutions present Financial Empowerment Series. Facilitator Crystal L. Gunn, covering budgeting, credit, mortgage prep, mortgage management, rental payment management. This is a free event beginning November the 9th through December the 5th. Visit their website for specific dates and times. Due to high demand, Phlebotomy Express Training Centers is having 2 phlebotomy classes, November 11th through the 19th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and December 2nd through the 10th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. $600 cash or debit. For more information and to enroll, call 313-341-5344.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to Deals with Bob and clicking the subscribe button.
Okay, so we're back, everyone. Did I got you back now?
Absolutely. And I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. Technical difficulties. If you watched my show a few weeks ago when I did a recap of Q3, I let everybody know that my team is saying that we're going to go with pre-recording because for whatever reason, we can't control what happens live. So in order to kind of control it, we would do a little bit of pre-recording. So welcome, though. I'm excited for you to be here. Now, here at Get to Know Bob, what we do is we do self-introduction. I pass the mic to you, and you have an opportunity to share with those who are watching who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Thank you. Hopefully that's not what you said before, and then it just went silent on me. So my name is Marvin Cotton Jr. I'm an author. I'm a justice reform advocate. I'm a community violence interventionist or interrupter. I'm a servant. I served 19 years, 7 months, and 12 days in prison for a crime that I did not commit. And I was exonerated a little over 3 years ago now. And when I got out and I seen the conditions of the city of Detroit, the conditions of the people, instead of taking the time that I needed, that people were telling me like, hey, you need to take time to yourself, I jumped immediately into the fight, into the struggle in order to make things better. I think that the things that I've been through in my life with the criminal justice system, being wrongfully convicted, the different things that I had to build within myself kind of prepared me for this mission that I'm on now, with just trying to make the community and help people be best versions of themselves. I author a book. I'm a best-selling author of a book entitled Better Not Broken. That's how I strive to live my life. And I wrote a book to kind of help other people with whatever they're going through in order to be able to do the same thing. So I think that's a little bit about myself.
Awesome, awesome. And that's really a good lead into one of the slides that we talked about. And we will get into a couple of other things that you mentioned as far as being wrongfully convicted and exonerated and just all of that. But right now, as we focus on the fact of you being an author, and you have this book called Better Not Broken. You gave a little bit of the reasons for writing it, because you wanted to do work for the community. You wanted to make a difference. Is there anything else though that is like more personal for you? Was it something like therapeutic? Was it just something that you just felt your story needed to be told? What was it really, the personal connection in this project for you?
I wanted to tell and share my story. I always knew that I would tell it. I just, and by no means is the story and the way that I tell it in this book, my complete story. But I did want to share this experience, and I knew at the very beginning of my wrongful conviction that I would one day share the story. But my personal connection with this kind of revealed itself as I was writing. When I thought that I completed the book, I was about a week before my release, and I wasn't happy with it. It didn't feel like I was being open enough. It did not feel like I was giving potential readers a real look into my life, into my struggle, into my circumstance. So I actually deleted 80% of my book a week before the release.
Oh, wow.
I sat in front of the computer and I just deleted page after page after page, about 80% of my book.
Okay.
And I was going to cancel my release date and push it back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where I was faced with an opportunity, a character building opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Either I was going to get it done or I was going to push it back and make excuses.
Okay.
But I sat there and I didn't think I was going to get it done. And my then fiance, my now wife, she said, no, baby, you can do it. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it went from her saying, no, baby, you can do it, to, no, sit down right here and get it done, to, you're going to get this done.
We do that from time to time.
So I actually, she was very patient. A few days actually passed while she was convincing me to get it done, until it turned into coercion. But what I learned was, when I first wrote the book, a lot of the stuff that I shared in the book, the stuff that I should have shared in the book was so painful that I shied away from it. Mm-hmm. So when I rewrote it, I really rewrote it, and I went in there and I cried on some of them. Some of the stories that I shared, I sat in front of the computer and I got stuck at certain paragraphs, just remembering, going back into my mind and remembering those days, those moments. And I knew I was on the right path when I was having those moments. Like if I'm this affected, then I know that I'm on the right path. And just to get a little bit more personal, I didn't know how to read and write before I was arrested. You know, very, very minimum, not enough to even be considered how to read and write. So I fell in love with words when I was in prison. I fell in love with words in order to be able to stay in communication with my then friend, who is now my wife. So I wanted to stay in touch with her so much that I fell in love with words in order to be able to do so. And really crafting this book and putting this book together was, you know, it was like a declaration to everything that I had overcome, and being able to put it into my own words meant a lot to me.
Wow, that's awesome. And you touched on some of the things and reason why I asked the question, because what I was visualizing is almost exactly what you said. I didn't realize the timetable. I didn't realize the time as far as it connecting to the date of exoneration, and that I didn't know that timetable. I could just imagine the fact that you're being an open nerve, right? And you're allowing this to come out. And some of the things I wrote down, one, was it therapeutic? Because in a way, you're kind of letting it out to grieve it in a way. Then I said, well, did it cause anger? You know, because now you're rethinking about everything in that amount of time. Or did it just take you through those emotions? And so thank you for your transparency on how that project even went for you, the process of it, because those were some of my questions that came to mind for me.
Yeah, I didn't feel angry during this process. I didn't. But at times, just reflecting on the younger Marvin, I did feel sorry and pity, you know, for myself, because I remember how vulnerable I was during a lot of those times. I remember how ill-equipped I was for some of those moments. And I just didn't have enough. I don't know how I survived some of those moments. And I remember how I felt during those times. So just looking back, it's a little emotional today. Just looking back at some of those times, and, you know, just being the older man, the more mature man that I am now, just looking back, it was almost like I was looking at a different person. Like I was looking at it. Yeah.
You are. I mean, not just because of the natural progression of age, but just because of those experiences and how you, like you said, how'd you make it through? By the grace of God, you know, because we can never step into our future. And one thing we can only hold on to is our faith. And during our faith, for level to level, you develop into a different person, because you can only use God to get through. You know, that's all you can lean into in order to get stronger and be that person.
Kind of like you read my book.
I'm excited to do so. My cousin has been telling me since day one when she read it, like, you have to read this book. And so it is here sitting on my nightstand waiting. You know, I just am a collector of books, and typically I read when I'm traveling. So that unfortunately lets you know I haven't traveled in a while. But one thing I wanted to do a highlight on is that you had this workshop. It's called a self-publishing workshop. I imagine, obviously, this was after you became a published author. Why did you feel compelled to do this workshop?
You know, I was contacted by SADO, which is the State Appellate Defender's Office. You know, SADO, they are appointed to cases pro bono through the state when there's convictions and people want to appeal their convictions. So, you know, it was a no-brainer for me to actually accept that invitation to come in and share that information with a lot of their clients that have been released, a lot of the juvenile lifers that are out now, other clients that they have that are interested in writing or becoming a published author. So that was like a no-brainer to me to accept that from SADO's. You know, SADO's it's a pillar in the judicial system here in Detroit and in the surrounding areas. So and I want to impart some information and some knowledge to those that want to be self-publishers. Like, yes, you can come from being in prison to being a self-published author. You don't have to beg anybody for an opportunity. If you have the will, you can do it yourself.
And is that the route that you took then for your own manuscript?
Yes, I did self-publish.
Okay.
I set up a KDP account through Amazon and uploaded. And when I got to the end of the day before my release date or at my release date, I uploaded to Amazon. And just like that, I was a published author, self-published author.
Mhm.
And I did meet my deadline. Um, so
With a little nudge, a little
oh,
push.
yeah, yeah, she blocked off my calendar. She wouldn't let me add anything to it. She cooked my meals and brought them to the table. And
See,
that was that. Like, sit here and you can eat while you work.
behind every great
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And it was important. I gave my word to a lot of people. A lot of people had pre-bought books. They
Mm.
pre-ordered books, and my word is important. And it's a beautiful thing when you have, your support system knows how important your word is as well. So she made sure that I
No
fulfilled my word and did what I
excuses.
said I was
She,
going to
she said no excuses, right?
do.
Love it, love it. And we got a comment that came in from Tien. Thank you for joining the conversation. He said, this book and collection seems like a great product of education and perspective.
Yes.
Thank you for that comment. Thank you for that comment, Tien.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, okay, so as we proceed into our next segment, Marvin, I'm sorry, we're going to take a moment to recognize some of our additional businesses that are being featured in some upcoming events. So we're going to take a break and we'll be back shortly.
Financial Services Incorporated is a remote accounting firm that offers extraordinary accounting services to small businesses. They provide accounting, tax, payroll, and advisory services and are offering our consumer members 15% off. Bright Tech Communication has the brightest ideas for all your surveillance needs and more. They are offering our consumer members 10% off. This Friday night, Decompression Session hosted by Sonia M. Weaver and Jason Integrity. Come celebrate the wins, let go of the stress, vent, share, and encourage. Registration is now via Alignable.
The Papa Was Project presents The Fathers of Funny Stand-Up Dads Comedy Talkback. Happening Friday, November the 10th from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Detroit Public Theater. Register today.
We are the goal. We are Boss Entertainment Group Detroit, the premier independent business, media, consultation, performance, and music hub in the United States and Detroit. We now present our Boss endorsed event for this week. This Saturday, November 11th, is the Entrepreneur Extravaganza presented by the Sterling Heights Lions Club from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. This incredible event is for all rising business owners to learn how to grow revenue direct from independent business experts. Also, enjoy the live music, food, and drink. Tickets are also available on Eventbrite. For more information, contact Barack and Roll on Facebook, Instagram at BossyG Detroit, or call Mona Lisa at 586-460-8981. Stay tuned to Get to Know Bob, hosted by the incredible Sonia Weaver for more exciting independent events, releases, and products from Boss Entertainment Group Detroit. Boss approved.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to Deals with Bob and clicking the subscribe button.
So welcome back. Marvin, I know you did in your self-introduction a little bit about you, but focusing on then the work itself that you do. You mentioned a couple of hats that you wear. So what should people know about you a little bit more, and really what drives you every day to do the work? You mentioned the community and how it was before you went into the prison system and then how it is now. So in your words, what did you see and why are you doing it?
Prison has a way of taking everything from you and leaving you with nothing but yourself and God. and it takes away all of the distractions. It strips you away from all of the fancy clothes, from all of the things, from all of the people, and it really puts you in an environment to where you start to get perspective not only of yourself but other things. So while I was in prison, I started to see the condition of those that were coming in the prison system, at a, you could just see the change in the younger men that were coming to prison. And
Wow.
I knew that that was a reflection of what was going on in the streets. I did a lot of mentoring in prison. I did a lot of teaching in prison. I did a lot of speaking in prison. So I spent my entire nearly 20 years mentoring and using my words in order to help other men become better, because I had a natural life sentence without the possibility of parole.
Wow. Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, they intended on me to die in prison.
Wow.
But while I was there fighting for my freedom, I spent time trying to send other men home that I knew would go home before me, send them home better, because I knew they was going to be around my family and other people's families. They were going back to these different cities throughout Michigan. And I wanted to have some sort of impact. I didn't want my legacy just to be grow up in the streets of Detroit. You go to prison, you die in prison, and that's the only impact you ever had on this world.
Wow.
So I spent my days in there really trying to help people become better. When I got out, I knew what my mission was. I knew what everything that I'm doing now. I knew that I would be doing this because it was showed to me, very early on. God showed me exactly what I would be doing and how it would look.
Wow.
So I knew what the mission was. But when I seen the conditions, people explained it to me when I was in prison what Detroit looked like. But when you see it, it
Mm-hmm.
was like driving through a different country that had been at war
Wow.
for years.
Wow.
And I knew that, what I had been through in my life, with being in prison, how I had, developed these skills in order to organize and inspire men, and lead men, even in the worst of environments. I knew
Right.
that I was being
Right.
prepared for this horrible environment that I was walking into. Freedom is beautiful, but the environment that I was walking into was very, very much ugly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that, because a lot of people can have a misinterpretation or assume on their own that, just only alone, now that you have been exonerated, you're sharing, what happened, and now your passion and your commitment for the community started then. And the truth of it is far from the truth. It started in your situation for where you were
Absolutely.
at, and to take on, oh my goodness, I'm getting emotional, to take on that task within the circumstances that you were dealt. A lot of people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
A
You
lot of
can,
people wouldn't feed into someone else when they're faced with what you were faced with. You said life, natural life.
absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
was
The,
awesome.
the DNA of your purpose, you can always find it in your pain. So as you're
Mhm.
going through things, you can see how God is shaping you for your purpose.
Mhm.
So when you really look at it, the city of Detroit, a lot of people that live in the city of Detroit rarely go outside of the city of Detroit. That's a prison. You
Yeah.
know, that's a prison. When you look at the conditions, how Detroit is a tough place. I'm glad that I was born in Detroit opposed to anywhere else, because Detroit made me tough enough to go through what I went through in
Yeah.
prison, and come out. I believe I came out better, although I came out with bruises and scrapes and everything else, the
Right.
trauma of prison. But I believe I came out better. I came out better prepared in order for this mission that I'm on. But you can always find signs of your purpose in your pain and what you're going through. It's always there because you're
Yeah.
going through it for a reason.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. A couple of things I put a pin in my notes as you were talking. When you start talking about how God revealed to you your life while you were in prison, the first person that came to me was Joseph. And those who know is that Joseph, him too. He was sold into slavery. He was wrongfully convicted and he went to prison. And yet, while he was in prison, he ministered to the ones who were there and said, do not forget me when you get to the other side, which they did. But he still remained faithful in knowing, his character of person first, who he was in God, and then what he had seen so years before as a young man, really a teenager, of what God had promised him then. The thing is, though, we see the promise and we might get the vision from God at one point in life, but he leaves out all of the other pain, like you mentioned, that you're going to go through for the other side of that vision.
If we knew the pain that we would have to go through in order to arrive where we would probably ask for different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we would. We would. Yeah, but the reassurance in the word again is that God will never give you more than what you can handle, and God is always there for you. Absolutely. So that's what Paul said. Whether he's good or whether it's bad, he can do all things through Christ who strengthens him.
And the beautiful thing about the story of Joseph, although it's hard not to think about the man, Joseph, but everything that he went through, although it happened to him, none of it was about him, because God was just using him as a vehicle in order to save his family that will become a mighty nation long after he's dead and gone. So it didn't have anything to do with him. He was just being prepared to be a vehicle in order to carry a future that needed to make it into the future.
And so then, Mr. Marvin, this is how you have made that impact as being a Joseph in the lives that you have changed and transformed. Even those young men who were released prior to you, that they have the opportunity to even share that with someone else, irregardless of whether or not they made bad choices again or not. But you still made an impact, a lasting impact that trickles down to different stems and branches of our human family that makes impact. So, wow. I have a little bit right here that, and I hope you are okay with it, but I came across this picture right here. Okay. And with this picture, I was brought to tears as you were stating in this post how you were feeling. And it says, tears feel foreign as gravity pulled my body's emotions, mixed chemistry down my face. The television screen was nearly impossible to see through watery eyes. The horrific movie 12 Years a Slave was playing on my 12-inch tube on the stand connected to the bunk I occupied. I was laying back and my attention was glued to the story of a man whose free life fell into slavery. Gravity's awesome power tugged on the invisible strings that guided my tears into my ears. In 2014, 12 Years a Slave was more than a movie to me. It was my life. Chains, cuffs, confinement, and cruel treatment defined the station of my life that was yoked around my neck. And while I sat and suffered a wrongful conviction of incarceration, I laid on top of a tear-soaked sheet for the pain of a man, Solomon Northrum, that died in 1863. At the end of the movie, I turned off the black and white TV and fell into my own thoughts. And the darkness is where I had my best thoughts. And although prison is a dark place, being in a dark cell at night, giving thanks for living another day and not knowing what tomorrow will bring is a few shades darker. So I spent every evening digging into my own mind of light. The movie came out in 2013 when I was suffering my 12th year. Damn. The realization of that connection provoked a few more tears. The sensation that left a trail of wetness on my face was the realest thing I felt in a while. Anything was better than the numbness that is necessary to carry one through injustice. Hearing slaves speak about being whipped, the first strike is soul shaking. Everything after that is numbness. Prison is similar. A wrongful conviction is a whip swung by an experienced hand with a deeper cut. Give me strength. Make me stronger than my circumstances. Make me wiser so I can see what I can't see. Oh God, give me what I need to be free. I prayed into the darkness to end my reflection. My God, when I was like reading this, I read it a few times. My goodness, my goodness, my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. I took that picture. I was up north, and they had just sent me up north. Up north is across the bridge, across the Mackinac Bridge, and that's usually where they send you when they really want to squeeze and break you. They know that you're far away from your family. They know that receiving visits are even more unlikely when they send you up there. The weather is very different. It's like almost like being in a different country. It's colder up there. The winters last longer. They start earlier and they end later. And the snow up north, I'm talking about 10, 12 feet. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just a different environment. It does something different to you. It's higher up, so the air is thinner up north, and it has an effect on your body and the way you breathe and your blood pressure and
Wow.
the mentality of the officers up north is very different. There's not many people that look like me that lives up north, so they're not having contact in their everyday life with Black people, with brown people, with the exception of the decreasing population of the Native Americans that live up there.
Mhm.
So their treatment of Black people, especially younger Black men. I was younger then,
Mhm.
and it's a different environment, but it's where I grew the most.
Wow.
Suffering that pain of being cut off from my family, my friends, my loved ones, my daughter, is where I grew the most because I had to. When you're experiencing that pain, you don't want to feel it. You're trying to grow out of that circumstance. And I did that by trying to read more, study more, self-reflection, really dig off into myself, to figure out what I needed to figure out, or what is the lesson that I need to get so I
Right.
can move to this next station in my life. I was always looking for, God, what is you trying to show me?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
know if I can get it, I can move on to the next stage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being up north really, really, really hammered that home for me because I did not want to be up there.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Wow. So before we go into another question, we're going to take a moment to pause so that we can reflect on our businesses and our upcoming events in our area. So we'll be right back. Today's Smile offers an array of dentistry services to help you create a satisfying smile. Your initial oral examination includes a visual examination, charting, periodontal probing, diagnosis, and treatment recommendations. Today's Smile is offering our consumer members 50% off whitening.
Deals with Bob is creating awareness and encouraging support of Black-owned businesses, ultimately for the promotion of restoration for our communities, and they are offering our consumer members 15% off their premium consulting services.
Cola presents Cola 10-year anniversary and awards. Caribbean Soul Experience. This Boss Approved group is nominated for Best Artist. Voting begins now through November the 15th. Women's Wholeness Summit. Revealing Your Blind Spots. Hosted by Heather Miller. Friday, November the 17th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Huntington Tower Training Center. Register at www.yourinspiredjourney.com or call 313-759-7855 for more information.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to Deals with Bob and clicking the subscribe button.
So welcome back. Welcome back. You had said a lot for me where I had to be like, oh my goodness, I got a little like choked up reading it. Like I told you, when I read it before, I had to read it a couple of times, even online. And my thing is, it was so eloquently written, and so when you said you fell in love with words, it definitely shows just in that post.
Yes. Well, I most certainly appreciate it. Reflecting on those times, it does bring out the best in me. Just digging off into that. The pain of it. There's a lot more to share about the circumstance that I went through, but I don't think it would be fair to a reader to just cram every single thing into
Right.
one project, because it has to make sense,
Mhm.
and I'm real big on laying things out in a way that they make sense.
Yes, yes. So I do take a moment in each show just to see, how we kind of have a connection to my guests, if any. And of course, the original connection I had came from my cousin, and you were on Smack, which is near and dear to my heart because it's a platform that myself, Michelle, and my sister and our cousin Angie, we all
Shout out
came
to
together.
Michelle.
Yeah, yeah, we all came together, and we created SMAC, which initially stood for our initials. So Sonia, Michelle, Angie, and Cheryl. And it came with an intent that, we weren't going to just have this little conversation. We were really angry as a family, and we wanted to really get those conversations started that was going to start being action packed. And because of Michelle's great passion, and I already had like my podcast and different things. I said, and we all agreed. We was like, Michelle, make it your own. And she has just done that so phenomenal. And so she was like, you have to watch tonight's show. And it was not short of eye opening. It was one of my favorite shows to watch. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And so then the next connection came from Mr. Darwin Griffin,
Shout out
who's
to
like, you
Darwin.
have to definitely
Great
talk
guy.
to Mr. Marvin Cotton. So, but it wasn't until this day here where I got an opportunity to face to meet the man behind all of the accolades people were giving you. And I understand why they said I needed to meet you. And what I love about this picture is that your wife is in it. And initially when I was like, can we get a pic? She stepped out the way. I'm like, no, darling,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah,
You part of this too.
yeah, she's a behind. She likes to be behind the scene. My wife, she's 3 times smarter than me. Like, no doubt, she's 3 times smarter than me. At least she's at least 3 times smarter than me. And she's a giant in the field that she occupies. But she loves to be behind the scene. I'm the one that posts on social media all the time. She posts on people's birthdays. That's it. So when you said, take a picture, she's more comfortable being on the other side of the camera. Although, as you can see, she's very beautiful, and she can play either side of the camera with
Well,
ease.
you
So
post her quite frequently. Y'all like that power couple I
yeah,
see happen.
yeah. People think they follow us, but she tell people all the time, "No, y'all follow him. I don't post pictures."
I love it. I love it. Now, one thing I'm gonna share a bit of tidbit, and so happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you.
You and my son are birthday twins.
Oh wow, wow.
Scorpios.
I was actually premature as a child. I was born 2 months early.
Oh.
So, I was supposed to be born, much later, a little over 2 months actually. And I talk about that a little bit in the book. I was born, my biological father was very abusive, and my mother went into labor early due to his abuse. And I was in the hospital for a couple of months after I was born, barely surviving. So, my birthday means a lot to me because, I was fighting from day one. I was fighting to be here from day one.
Wow. Thank you for even sharing that. Yeah, you were fighting because you had this purpose. You were already ordained for this purpose. So now we're getting like 10 minutes out to normally when we end. And I know this question, I'm debating if I'm going to ask it, but I need to ask it because you said something so key about Detroit being a very different Detroit for you, and it kind of impacted your purpose. And I too, even though I was not obviously incarcerated, it's like my eyes had blinders on to how the city was changing before me, until one day I just it's like the blinders came off and I saw the change. And so therefore my passion was reignited for me to focus on Black businesses and the impactful and the purpose that we need to open up businesses, and not just open them, that our community needs to support them, and that they need to be reputable, and that all of the little things that keep us from supporting get addressed. And I went on this embarkment over a decade now ago, because I too seen a very different Detroit than the Detroit that raised me. In your own words, and I know we're limited for time, but in your own words, why do you feel it's important for us to have Black businesses within our community, and most importantly, that they thrive?
We are the only people in the United States, Black people, we are the only people that believe we're going to change our conditions through nonprofits. No other people use nonprofits in order to change their conditions. Everyone else changed their conditions through business. Mm-hmm. Business. We look at all those that have come into our community and started businesses, and they've literally changed and shaped the trajectory of their entire community, because they've started businesses, they've supported each other's businesses, and they've moved forward, suck the money out of our communities, build up their own communities. But they've done it not through nonprofits, but they've done it through business. Mm-hmm. Nonprofits are good. I'm not attacking it. I sit on the board of different nonprofits that we do some great work in order to help individuals as well as communities. But as Black people, we have to get more involved with starting businesses, supporting each other's businesses, holding each other accountable to doing great business, not only good business, but doing great business, and support it. So I'm really honored to know you and to know that's what you do, because that's what we need. Greater success economically will help us shape the future in which we need. And nonprofits is good, but we need to get more involved in the business sector.
Yes, I agree. And thank you for your input on that. Now, as we're getting into our last few minutes of closing, we do have a couple of more events that we're going to be bringing to the table. And then we're going to be closing out our conversation with Mr. Marvin Cotton. So stay tuned. Tranquility Christian Counseling wants you to save the date. Grief group session, Surviving Grief Through the Holidays, Sunday, December the 17th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Don't suffer alone.
Let us support you and your event by adding it to our Stay Connected segment. Visit www.dealswithbob.com and contact us today. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to Deals with Bob and clicking the subscribe button.
So that final event looked familiar to you, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Nation Outside Gala. I'm the Detroit Regional Coordinator for Nation Outside, which is a policy-driven nonprofit where we push policy to legislators in order to make sure that those that are directly impacted by the criminal justice system have an opportunity to live out their full potential and their full life without any obstacles or roadblocks. And we really want to push policy in order to keep people off the streets as well as keep people out of the streets. So that's what we do with Nation Outside, and we're having a gala We are beloved in the criminal justice reform community. We invite everybody to come out to our gala November 17th. You can check out my page, my Facebook page, Marvin Cotton Jr., and look at some information for the gala, as well as on Instagram, Better Not Broken on Instagram.
Awesome. So yeah, I came across them. I'm like, okay, I have to check this out. Now on the promo, it shows like so it's a masquerade. You will come like in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
We really want to drive the point home of how those that's been directly impacted by the criminal justice system. Sometimes we wear a mask. We're ashamed at what happened to us or what we've been through. And we have to put a mask on that we want to show the general public. And now we're taking that mask off. People really need to see what's going on and how they can help. And we really want to make it all right for those to feel like they can take that mask off.
Oh, I love it. Now, we did not get to everything that I had queued up for this conversation. We definitely...
I promise you this, and with your viewers, anything that they may want to be expounded on or any questions they have, they can submit their questions to you. We can figure out a date where you can have me back and we can get to the rest of your questions as well. And we can just sit here and we can go through everybody's questions.
And it's not just questions. It's just some of the amazing work that I have a phenomenal team that just finds things. I had Dr. Eddie on a few months ago, and he was like, "Where are you finding this stuff?" I mean, during the interview, he was like, "You're good. Where are you finding it?" I said, "Well, it's about connection. So it's more than just hearing just one project, but it's getting as much of a totality of people seeing who you are." And so, yes, we didn't get to all of the spans and the layers even that we had tonight. So thank you for already agreeing to having to come back as we close out. So one of the things, though, because we're getting to the end, is how can people connect to you? You did mention just now your Facebook and your Instagram. I'm assuming that you're available if people need keynote speakers, if they need workshop facilitators, panel. I'm sure that you probably have your media packet that involves those type of things, correct?
Absolutely. I can be reached on social media. I do have a website, www.betternotbrokenllc.org. You can check out my website and you can see the things that I've been a part of, the different things that I've facilitated. I travel the country doing different things, speaking engagements, as well as advocating and trying to make an impact. So your viewers can check me out on my website as well as social media.
Awesome. So now the book question. Outside of your own book and of course the Bible, what book is on your nightstand or that you have currently read or would highly recommend reading?
My favorite book is The Art of War by the Art of War, authored maybe 2,500 years ago. And by the Dema Group. The Dema Group translation, there's many translations of this text.
And you said it's the what group?
Dema,
okay.
Yeah, Dema Group. It is, what they've done in their translation is they've incorporated some essays by the type of mind and person that Sun Tzu was, that each and every one of us can kind of grow in some of those areas. And the essays are absolutely beautiful. The translation of the different texts is absolutely beautiful. Although it was written about war, it's really about relationships. It's really about environment. It's about the workplace. It's about the family dynamics. Because in all of those things, you have the war and the politics and everything.
Right.
And what the art of war is really about is not a war at all. It's about winning without fighting, winning without a fight, and just having a bigger idea and not being small-minded. Because when you have a bigger idea, and if it's big enough, everybody's idea can fit inside or exist inside of your bigger view of things. So that's my favorite book.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Now, we did talk a lot about a lot of things during this hour, but is there anything that you want to make sure gets said? Do you have any final remarks?
Um, um, I definitely want viewers to check out my book, Better Not Broken. You can find it on Amazon. And I like to know what people think about my book. So if you read my book, you can reach out to me and ask questions or make comments. I love to hear feedback. My wife loved to hear feedback about my book as well. It really matters to me how my book impact and affect other people. I want to know the raw emotion and
Mhm.
exactly what it was that you heard that really grabbed you. And I appreciate what you read, because what you read is actually an excerpt out of my book. I just go into way more detail in the book
Gotcha.
so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course, of course. And just thank you again for coming on. Thank you for being vulnerable enough to share your true story, to actually take away 80% and share the authentic story, which is going to
Absolutely.
be the one people connect to. And as you can see, the emotions within connects to the emotion that you place on that page as you was writing. And that's where the shift comes, where the mindset shifts. And to this day, I still have not watched 12 Years a Slave, because I am an emotion person that I can get very angry when I think about the misjustice of this country based on melanin, which is another reason why I have my business, to encourage and support our community for the greatness they are. Is really to address self-love,
All right.
because this country has really placed us in a place where we don't love our melanin. We don't
Right.
love what we see in our community, when we don't love what we see in the mirror. And so therefore, I address that, and I try to keep movies that upset me.
But I want you to watch the movie, but I also want you to contact me after you read my book, because there's another connection to my story and just me and that movie that I put in the book.
Okay. Uh, Now, if I get angry now,
Well, it's nothing wrong with anger, because our emotions sometimes ties us to a mission and an issue.
yeah,
So slavery should make everyone angry, and the pain of what we've been through, our ancestors been through. We have to still feel that, so that we can make sure that we don't ever
yeah.
roll back into that type of history in the future.
Yeah, and there's definitely remnants though that carried on in a generation. It's not that whole slavery aspect, but remnants are there, and that's why I can't address them all. But one area that I have decided is that self love, and then business, because money is universal. That language speaks everywhere, but so we have to definitely control what we do with it and be educated about it, and not be of consumers, but be of builders with it. So
Absolutely.
yes, I can't wait to talk to you again. Thank you for coming. And I have some thank yous to share with the rest of you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Special thank yous to some of our supporters of our business, of our platforms. Thank you for being a part of Deals with Bob and the work that we do, and being on our International Black Business Directory. We want to say thank you to Amazing Woman Network, to Linked LLC, True to You Candles, and Phlebotomy Express Training Centers. And if you have not already done so, make sure you head on over to our YouTube channel, Deals with Bob. Click that subscribe button. And while you're there, make sure you click that notification bell, so that you know of every single time we go live with one of these amazing conversations. I am Sonia Weaver, and I really thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you again, Mr. Marvin Cotton Jr., for being here. I encourage you guys to spend with purpose, because your dollar does matter, and deal with Bob. I'll see you in a couple weeks. I'm out of town next Wednesday, so don't tune in, but I'm here the week after next. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you for
Bye.
having me. Thank you
Of
for having me.
course. Thank you for being here.